What was it like to attend school in Middlesex County, New Jersey during the mid-19th century? What were the buildings like? What subjects were taught? Public schools were very different during the 19th century. They weren't even referred to as public schools. They were called common schools. Citizens of Middlesex County towns had the right to establish school boards. The board decided on the length of the school year, when it began, when it ended, the cost per student, the subjects taught, and every detail regarding the school building. Some school boards decided to use existing buildings as the schoolhouse. In Perth Amboy in 1851, classes were held in a room within the courthouse. A year before the Civil War, children were still attending school there. In Middlesex County, schools were open for 9, 10, 11, and even 12 months. The state superintendent of schools observed in 1860, schoolhouses without playgrounds were generally built upon the side of the highway, at the edge of a grove between forks in the road, barely enough ground to accommodate the four walls of the school. To make matters worse, the playground was also located near the highway, with no fence to protect the children from oncoming traffic. Most schoolhouses constructed during the 19th century were one-story wooden structures. As one school official of Middlesex County reported in 1860, the schoolhouses were of every possible variety, from the primitive shanty with scarcely a comfort or convenience to the modern edifice surrounded with cheerful grounds and furnished with everything that could make study pleasing and profitable. The superintendent of schools for Piscataway in 1851 observed there were schoolhouses that the farmers would not use for stables, and yet they were willing to send their children there to obtain an education, exposed to the dampness of the storm and the severity of the cold. Even though most of the schoolhouses in Middlesex County were provided with suitable desks and chairs, others were equipped with only benches on which the students learned. Some schools did not have suitable privies or outhouses. An important project called the Great Outhouse Crusade was initiated by the state superintendent because, as he observed, respectable parents send their children to school where the demands of nature could not be answered without open exposure. Thanks to the crusade, schools without outhouses decreased. Children were taught reading and writing. Math was viewed as essential but not always part of the classroom lesson. In some common schools, students learned more than simple mathematics. They practiced algebra, geometry, trigonometry, and bookkeeping. Parents and teachers recognized the importance of geography and history, but these were only taught in only a handful of classrooms in Middlesex County. Piscataway was one of the only districts in central New Jersey that included vocal music in the curriculum. Pens, pencils, ink, paper, slates, and blackboards were seen as indispensable, but only some Middlesex County schools provided them. Charts, maps, globes were unknown to the children. Since the 18th century, a book frequently used was the English Primer. Other books included Nicholas Pike's Arithmetic and Thomas Dilworth's The Schoolmaster's Assistant. The most popular textbook was Webster's Spelling Book. In 1855, New Jersey ordered 700 copies of Webster's Unabridged Dictionary, even though there were 1,429 school districts in the state. According to superintendent's reports, it was common for African American students to be taught in separate buildings, sometimes in separate districts throughout New Jersey. In Perth Amboy, the citizens voted to segregate the African American children from the Caucasian children. According to the report of the school superintendent for Perth Amboy, in 1854, a portion of African American children were taught by an African American teacher in a private school, but the city council only appropriated $35, an amount of money too little to make an impact. A state law was passed in 1881, prohibiting the exclusion of children from public schools, regardless of race, religion, or nationality. Teachers in New Jersey recognized education needed to improve. In 1853, a group of teachers who attended a convention in New Brunswick formed what would become the New Jersey Education Association. Its mission was to improve public education and elevate the teaching profession. In the years to come, teachers attended multi-day professional workshops. During the 1860s, the New Jersey legislature passed laws that were written to improve the conditions across the state. A state board of education and county superintendents of schools were appointed. It wasn't until the late 19th century when New Jersey became one of the last states in the nation to provide free public education for all students. You can visit the Smalleytown Schoolhouse. It was moved from Somerville to what is now East Jersey Old Town Village in Piscataway in 1976. It was a one-room 19th century school for over 80 years, from 1804 to 1884. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Uncommon History. I'm Douglas Aumack. Uncommon History is brought to you by the Middlesex County Office of Culture and Heritage, the Middlesex County Board of Chosen Freeholders, and the New Jersey Historical Commission, a division of the Department of State. Visit www.middlesexcountynj.gov and search for podcasts to hear other episodes in the series. Don't forget to visit our mobile cultural website. Text culture to 56512.